One of the best things about finding new web series is the feeling I get when I discover something really different. I love narrative storytelling, but there are so few series that actually deliver on it, and even fewer who engage in really mysterious, artistic forms of relaying a story or an idea. Finding content that feels like the territory of David Lynch and Donnie Darko is difficult. Finding anything abstract that really speaks to a person and conveys emotion with engaging methods not commonly used is difficult. And yet, the latest night vision entry, appropriately titled Abstractions, does exactly that. What is an abstraction? By definition, it's known as the quality of dealing with ideas rather than events, as well as freedom from representational qualities in art. Thoughts and feelings visualized are what lay at the core of abstractions, and it's up to the viewer to figure out what its creator is attempting to convey. Abstractions is like no other series that I've ever covered. This channel is one that poses a very different challenge to a viewer. Can you solve the psychology, memories, and focus of the uploader through a puzzle box of mixed media? And in exploring the uploader's heart and mind, what emotions, feelings, and thoughts are raised in yours? Those are the goals in this realm of YouTube. See if you can find the core mystery by deciphering the language of the uploader, and see the results of exploration created in yourself. The series opens with a video titled Disinclined, uploaded in September. The description reads, "To climb again, to fall again." And already, there's a challenge inherent in breaking through to the full concept of the video. Watching it through the first time, you'll hear some very interesting audio samples, followed by a raised bridge stuck in place. Statements flash by, the screen jitters, and we're shown the YouTube video loading icon. A truck passes below, we're given another statement flashing through against a shot of some cranes, and we're shown the message from the description below a power line pole. The words fade out, and we're provided one last message over a flashing screen. 000-864-00. Anyone who's been through the ring of web series, ARGs, and online storytelling knows the routine here. Download the video, pull it into a program, and go frame by frame to catch the words that flew by. However, by doing this, you'll only be catching half of the message. The challenge in this video isn't about reading all the quick frames, but making an important decision provided by the uploader. This video has closed captioning. There are subtitles you can turn on, and by doing so, you'll see the rest of the words that are meant to be presented. It's not so much a secret as it is a symbolic gesture. By turning on the closed captioning, you're making a decision to listen to this person. You're choosing to hear what they have to say. This is even reflected in the first few closed captioning messages. Are you listening? Do you hear it? The rest of the video's full message, now that we have it, goes like this. It could be so easy. It's all around you. Water or a bridge. The video pauses to buffer. The uploader is now thinking or hesitating. Stop waiting. Another pause, including an apology for hesitation. Sorry for the delay. We go down a street level away from the raised bridge. A truck passes by, an object that's in motion, which reveals an instruction. Start moving. In the dark, against the first crane, we see a word of warning. Falling. Then back to the power line tower with all of its rungs on the sides, which a person could easily use to climb into very dangerous territory. To climb again, to fall again. The video holds on to this image for a while, longer than may be necessary. The uploader is hesitating or just thinking about their decision. The captioning comes back, relaying a promise. Your patience will be rewarded. A little bit more time is spent on the power line pole, and we receive our numbers. When it comes to the concept of this video, it took no time to see what I believe to be the message, but the numbers at the end are a mystery that took some thinking and researching to break down. The presence of 3 zeros at the beginning led me to believe this might have been a code, but hex code didn't work, and none of the other methods we've usually seen with web series applied. What I did find in terms of coding is that it can produce a result using CMYK color coding, the standard for print media. Number values for CMYK range from 0 to 1 with stops in between at decimal values. 00086400 is the number we have to work with, comprised of 8 digits. CMYK through its decimal system can be seen to use 2 numbers each. This led me to type in number pairs of absolute 0, 0.8, 0.64, and absolute 0 again. The result is a type of dark pink, stationed almost exactly between absolute magenta and absolute red. My reason for bringing this up will make sense a bit later, but I know it doesn't seem to apply right now. What does fit in regard to the video for the meaning of this number is a more easily discovered interpretation. There are 86,400 seconds in 24 hours. 86,400 seconds is a full day. This is a reminder about the time a person has in the span of seconds, a message that falls in line with the rest of the video. This inclined in my eyes presents the inner struggle of a person to move forward. There is a serious sense of doubt and hesitation in the uploader to do something, which they equate to climbing towards a height. The risk of climbing is, of course, falling, a nightmare scenario for any climber, which is captured in the image of the word against this crane in a dark version of the shot. Climbing and the danger of doing so is most easily relayed through the electrical pole. It has rungs all up and down the sides, easy to grab hold of and work your way up. I'm not sure there's ever been a person who looked at one of these and didn't think about climbing one once in their life. To see something like this, or a crane, or an old bridge stuck in the air produces the fantasy of climbing to a great height. But in this fantasy, there is the fear of falling and being seriously injured, or much worse. This fear is the reason for delay, and it seems to coincide with the temptation to quit any thoughts of making progress entirely. Water and bridges all around, great heights. It could be so easy. These bring to mind the idea of suicide. Our uploaders facing a situation in which they're deciding whether to quit and take themselves out of their pursuits, or face their fear and move forward, climbing towards the height they fear climbing due to the risk of falling. This is a concept that speaks to pretty much any creator with an idea who's ever lived, but can also easily apply to so many other situations, especially in the wake of grief or loss. Hesitating, staying in place, delaying on purpose. These are all of the little moves that a person can make just to stay afloat in times of struggle, but it gets them nowhere. The end message, 86,400 seconds, is the grim reminder that the price of just staying afloat is the loss of time that can be used to make actual progress. The next video, Motion B.1, is a deeper kind of mystery. The description reads, "Moment to moment, the motion is interrupted. White lies or broken promises. There's really no difference. All we have are death and taxes," reads the message we receive, followed by a seagull standing on a post. We watch for only a moment before it spreads its wings to take off, and then the video distorts, the seagull frozen and the image around it destroyed along with the audio. Here's a sample of it for you. Let's see if you can guess what it's trying to convey with the video. Have you heard that noise before? If you've ever had a computer, DVD player, or game console overheat on you, then I'll bet you have. This is usually what you'll hear when that happens, as the entire machine freezes in carrying out its operations, just like the seagull that we saw on flight. The distortion may be an extension of this idea, showing how the image is ruined while playing. We did see in the description, moment to moment, the motion is interrupted, and that appears to be what's happened for the uploader in this video. Their progress is interrupted. Whatever journey they were about to set on after the first video has been halted, and it may have to do with a white lie or a broken promise. All we have are death and taxes is a variation of the quote by Benjamin Franklin, "Nothing is certain except death and taxes." This also may be indicating what's put the uploader's forward movement on hold. The next video, Passing, is easily understood by anyone who watches or listens closely, and their comprehension is assisted by the video description. He held her head, kneeling on the concrete. He held her body as the blood pooled and stained. He held her hand, there beside the coffin. He turned away, but the memory remained. I'll play what seems to be the memory the uploader is alluding to for you. There aren't any built-in subtitles, so I've made some myself in case you can't hear.
He ran and said, "Daddy, Daddy, please come. Sarah's hurt. She's hurt badly, Daddy, please come." But when I ran towards where she was bent over covering her right eye and the blood was just pouring out of her face.
If you didn't catch it at the end, the distortion shifted the scene away from the pier into a tombstone. We've traveled from the water to the grave. Is it a death that broke the momentum of our uploader, or is this a memory that's haunting them? The next video, Disrepair, contains a warning in the description. When visiting a location such as this, you should always be accompanied. Some may look better, some may look worse. Never go alone. And indeed, the location seen in the video can easily be described with the word disrepair. The home is old with its dark wood trim, radiator heater, and faded, torn wallpaper. The walls can be seen falling apart in sections, and so much more of the house decaying. It feels almost as if something haunts this place, and we aren't sure what our uploader is doing here. More can be seen in the following video, which is part of a series titled Study. Study 1, Encapsulate, has no video description, but there is something interesting to be found in the tags. It's cold and she's not alone. In the house, we explore more territory, including a room with a woman standing by the window. A message in red runs across the screen. If she were like you, would you watch? Would you stare? Would you care? And in the middle of these questions, a string of code. The video ID for a link to an unlisted upload. S1.2, 110 to 121. We're told that the devil is in the details, a clue to look deeply and focus. The video itself is short and only contains footage we've already seen from disrepair. At first glance, there's nothing unusual about it, but when you apply the numbers in the title, you'll hit a breakthrough. 110 to 121 is an odd code to figure out. While considering how to use it for the first time, you might guess that it's directing viewers to watch the video from 110 seconds in to 121, but the video isn't long enough to do that. Trying to apply it to the disrepair video doesn't give us anything we can work with either. Obviously, it has to be a system of measurement going from 110 to 121 like pages in a book, but we're not given a book to use, just the video. But if a video were like a book and we're not going by seconds, then what would the pages be in a video? The frames, those still images that make up each second of a video. If you go from 110 frames in to about 121, you spot something very significant. The image of a shadow person standing in the door on the right. It's difficult to catch unless you really stop to examine the scene between the span of frames. This is what the on tag on Study 1 was trying to say. Someone else is in the house with the uploader. And if you go to the video this footage comes from, Disrepair, we find another tag that helps us. A shadow in the hall. The following study video is titled An Interloper Resides, with a description marking the set of frames used to find the shadow person, our interloper who's residing in the decaying home. Or perhaps it's the woman standing by the window in this shot, where the camera seems to move on its own. We may be standing apart from whoever it is that entered the house in disrepair. Our narrative observation position seems to have shifted. The thoughts that spill across the window in red might be this woman's, or the uploader's. Maybe they're the same, and our new position is filtering their emotions and thoughts again through the video. You have yet to extend your helpful red hand, and when at last you exceed demand, there waiting is someone encapsulated from the outside and inwards. The label applies cocoon by the wall, lost in the daze. A stranger is hiding inside of her face. From the wording of this poem, the appearance of the woman in the house, and the revelation that something else is living here, we may judge that she's not doing alright, and Study 3 presents even more evidence for it. I don't want to ruin the experience of going through Abstractions. It's far too good to give it all away right here like most night vision entries. I will tell you to keep an eye out for videos that have captions, like the one that follows Study 4, Portions. Make sure you turn them on and really listen to what the uploader wants to communicate. Past this point though, I do want to mention one more video, plus magenta. I brought up CMYK coding earlier, and while I do believe the 86,400 number was meant to stand for seconds in a day, there is an interesting relation to a color theme that's now coming through. I wasn't able to find anything that relates to the phrase plus magenta or has the same title, but you might remember that the CMYK coding for the number from Disinclined gives us a reddish pink color. It's sitting as close as it can to a spot halfway between true magenta and true red while maintaining its meaning as the seconds in a day. Plus magenta could be a sign of change from the halfway point to a polar point, that true magenta color, reflecting an act of moving forward and making progress after standing in place for a while. It could all be entirely coincidental, of course, but I find it very poetic that it can stand for the situation that was presented in the first video. The uploader was at a halfway mark, staying in place, and now they have made their movement. Whether it's a good movement or bad remains to be seen, but some of the images seen in the video for plus magenta do come across as positive. Like I said, I don't want to ruin the experience for anyone else, so I'll draw the line on interpreting videos here. Abstractions is too good to spoil. It's a very different, very engaging artistic experience that utilizes visual language as often as it can, and even takes advantage of YouTube's video tools to generate its art and communicate ideas. I have seen clever use of the closed captioning tool before, but never like this, and the idea of using frame referencing to hide clues instead of timecodes? That's a tactic that I've never come across before. Speaking of things I've never come across, one of the elements of Abstractions that strikes me the most is the awesome cinematography. The West record still holds first place for run-and-shoot adventure-style video quality, but for projects like Abstractions, this is the best camera work I've ever seen. If all I ever got out of watching the videos was great cinematography, I'd still be heavily invested because I love how clean, sharp, and professional it looks. It's so engaging and interesting, and you want more. Have you ever seen a shot like this in something I've covered? Because I certainly can't remember finding anything like it, and I seriously wish I had. And of course, the editing is absolutely wild. I know some good tricks, but this is masterwork in action, pulling off some effects I'd have to do some serious research to understand. Abstractions might not be for everyone. It's not a fear fest, but there are definitely some dark and paranormal elements, and even without them, it doesn't need to be scary. What we have already is so valuable and interesting, and it makes you think and feel and question how much further we can go in doing new things with YouTube as a platform. It is a mystery, it does have codes and cryptic elements, but without all of the usual alternate reality series aspects, it's incredibly fascinating. Do yourself a favor and go through these videos, see what it stirs in you. Come back and let me know what you think is going on, what they mean, anything that comes to mind. I hope you enjoy your trip to this new territory in online storytelling. I'd like to thank all of my supporters on Patreon who make it possible for me to make more content on a wider variety of topics, and to do some very cool secret things for the channel that I'm currently working on. Stick around to see their names at the end of this video. And if you like Abstractions, give it the same kind of love we show our other night vision entries and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for joining me in the dark this evening. Once more, I'm Nick Nocturne, and I'll be seeing you again real soon. Sleep tight.